Well, here we are, a couple of hours on. I've taken the barrels off and all is becoming a bit more clear. I've taken the barrels off and the left hand one was a bit tight, but not because the piston was tight in the barrel, it's because the big end's seized. If you see now, I've took the barrels off and you can actually, this is now free. This sprocket, I can turn it just by turning the clutch drum like that. And this big end and little end is free on there, but the big end on the other side big end, the little end's okay, but the big end, that's not turning on the big end, it's actually turning the crankshaft. See the cam turning there. This left hand big end is seized up, which is a roller bearing. It's really unusual for a roller bearing to seize up like that so readily. So it's really strange. You can see I've lifted it up onto this box. I can't be scrambling around now on the floor. At my age, it's not great. What I do, I hoist it up onto with these blocks and tackle, and then made an A-frame. You can see the A-frame there in the shed. That runs down 2 A-frames, goes down to the floor. Then I've got cross pieces in, so that the actual shed's not taking any weight at all. And I've got chain blocks that come off that crossbar. It's strapped up, and then I just lower it and just gently lower it onto this wooden box. So it's a nice height for working. I wouldn't work if I didn't have the box, if I didn't have the block and tackle. So the next problem is like an engine out. It's only a few bolts now and it's out this. So the next time we see it, it'll be on the bench upside down. Right, this is the Suzuki 250 GT out on the bench, and I think we've just come across the reason why it's seized. I've just turned the engine over on it to its side on the bench here, and let's see if there's any more in. Let's see what comes out of here. Look at that. That's petrol. There's a load come out. That's almost neat petrol. It's flooded to blazes. All that is just washed out the bottom of the crankcase. That's petrol. So it must have been flooding like crazy. It must have washed all the oil out of the big ends and it seized it up. So there's your problem. Well, here we are. I'm definitely going to see what's wrong with this now. If this is not a lesson for anybody, just look at the shape of that conrod. Oh my god. Look at the bend in it there. They must be made out of cheese, these things. Well, there you go folks. One crankshaft out with one bent conrod. Obviously what's happened is there's, as I was saying earlier, it's not hydraulic. It has hydraulics. It must have. It must have had that much fuel in the bottom as it's got on top of the piston, and when it's fired, the momentum of this other cylinder coming up has been sufficient to lock that side and then bend the conrod. What's really disappointing about this engine is they don't have any drain plugs. There's 2 holes here, there's one there and one there, and I think they're drain plugs, but they're capped off on this one. They aren't plugs, they're just caps knocked in. So I might have to knock them caps out and unthread them or something, so I can, if this ever happens again, I can drain off any flooding. The other thing that's disappointing is there doesn't appear to be any, I noticed this when I did the carburetors, there doesn't appear to be any overflows on the carburetor. If the carburetors flood, it just floods into the engine. And all the carburetors I've seen in the past, they have overflow tubes on, like vent tubes coming out the side. So if the carburetor floods, it actually runs out and runs onto the floor. And these don't have anything, so you can't tell when it's flooding, which is, to me, bonkers. Anyway, it's a crankshaft job, this new conrod. This bearing at the end doesn't sound fantastic. That one sounds okay, but these seals are all these seals are loose as well here. These are the crank seals in the centre, and they want replacing anyway, so it's going to be a couple of £100 of a job this. Anyway, when it's ready for going back, I'll put some more on. That's my flintlock, that's having to go on the back burner and making a flintlock. Anyway, when it's back together, or when I'm putting it back together, I'll put another video on.